What's up, everybody? It's dalton270 bringing you a commentary over a game on firing range in Black Ops. I'm playing Team Deathmatch, and while this is not the most kill-tastic game you'll ever see, it is still a very fun game to watch, and I start out really strong. And then there's, some bullshit that happens later in the video, but such as life. So I thought I'd start out today by reintroducing myself and sort of talking about what you can expect from this channel. I haven't posted a gameplay in over a year, and I realize that all I've posted thus far on this channel is Call of Duty videos. However, it's not going to simply be a channel about Call of Duty. This is more of a documentation about my gaming experiences through all sorts of different games and genres. So while I am starting out with 2 Call of Duty videos on this channel, expect lots of Battlefield and other FPSs in addition to third-person shooters, RPGs, and, racing games even if I feel like it. So far, there are only a few clips on this channel. However, I've recorded many, many more. I recently got an HD PVR, and I've had my Xbox and my PS3 around for about 6 months now. So I thought I would start to record my games and put them up here and talk over them. And while I will not talk about the games all the time, there will be occasions where I do kind of, just talk about the gameplay. And those will generally be games that are less known, so not Call of Duty, not Battlefield, not Crisis, etc., etc. And this channel is not going to have the greatest scores in multiplayer either. If you're coming here to see 81-2 games or scores that are just ridiculous, those aren't going to be here. There will be some very fast-paced, very high-kill games and various multiplayer games. However, for the most part, I'm just trying to show off the different games that I play and give people an idea of what else there is out there. So today I kind of wanted to talk about E3. E3 was this past week in Los Angeles, and there were a lot of good new games unveiled. There were also the big 3, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft's press conferences, and I wanted to talk about each of those and then go into my favorite games and least favorite games, although I don't think I'll talk about my least favorite games because I generally don't remember games I didn't like. But I'll talk about those, the big 3's press conferences and the favorite games. So let's start right out with Nintendo. Nintendo unveiled a new console this year for those of you living under a rock. It was called the Wii U, and unfortunately I was disappointed. I had really high hopes. They were unveiling new hardware in terms of the console itself, and I thought that this might be the shot in the arm that developers need to start, pushing graphical limits. And, while graphics aren't everything, it's nice to have a good-looking game, and I think that as developers get more and more powerful engine, gameplay actually changes. I guess I'd point out the recent Battlefield games where you have a console that can do destruction effects in game, and that destruction becomes an integral part of the gameplay, and it just opens up so many new gameplay opportunities. So I was really excited for this Nintendo console because new power always brings in new innovation, I think. However, they made their press conference all about the controller. And I have never been more unimpressed by a controller. I think this whole iPad-looking controller is not going to work at all. And I think that they are just playing around with gimmicks when in reality they have a great opportunity to take a big part of the market away from Sony and Microsoft because they have new hardware and people will buy new hardware. My friend did point out, I have a friend who went to E3 and we'll speak to him hopefully soon about his experience there. He did point out that you could probably plug in other controllers into the console, but I don't think developers are going to make games for controllers that are not being shipped with a console. So the last point I want to touch on with Nintendo is the fact that they did have some good games there. There were many Wii U games that kind of impressed me. The one that comes to mind is Metro, I guess it's Metro First Light. It's the sequel to Metro 2033. It looks really good on their console. There were a few other games which I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I remember them all looking fairly good for being, the first wave of games coming from a console. So we'll have to see where it goes. I'm not going to write write it off completely, but I think that as far as the hardcore gaming market goes, I think that they're going to fail to capture that group of people once again. Sony is next up on my list. Sony, I thought, had the best press conference of the three. I like that they focused on games more than gimmicks, and I think that Sony and Microsoft both did that. I'll get to Microsoft in a minute. But I think that Sony focused on games. Yes, there was some move stuff. I remember seeing BioShock Infinite up there, or the developers for making BioShock Infinite, Ken Levine was up there, and he was talking about, you know, move and stuff like that. But I think that Sony really, I was so glad that there was somebody focusing just on the games, because that is so necessary. And while, like I said, there's the move gimmicks, there is the group of gamers who just want the games, and I think that, you know, showing off Resistant 3, Uncharted 3, Skyhawk looked impressive. All of those games being able to be played, you know, well, not just being able to be played without a controller, but being able to be played naturally without a controller. And I think BioShock will actually be able to be played without a move very well. And so that was really impressive to me. I like to see new games. I don't want to see new gimmicks. And so I thought Sony did the best in terms of that area. Microsoft is the last one, as I kind of hinted to earlier in this video. I thought that their conference, although the new Halo games look impressive, and, you know, they had a good, I liked where they're going with Live. I thought their conference was somewhat disappointing. They focused on Kinect heavily, and I think Kinect, while it looks good in a stage demo, I don't know how those games are going to play. I'm very skeptical about how well those games will play when it comes to, you know, when they're out on the market. I think the Fable game and I think it was called Rise both looked cool, but I don't think that they're going to play very well. And so I'm really kind of disappointed by Microsoft. Gears looked good, Forza looked good, but there wasn't a whole lot that we didn't expect from them. And I think that their focus on Kinect was not a good idea. I think there's a lot of gamers that won't be satisfied with this. So, I did not get to talking about my favorite games today, but I will talk about them in the next video. So thanks for watching. Peace.